And if you look at what's been happening over the course of the last many decades, is that whenever the debt liquidity ratio goes up, we get a financial crisis. And that financial crisis is a refinancing crisis because it's difficult in those circumstances to refinance debt. So what happens is central banks come in and they print money. And that is the solution to every financial crisis you can think of going backwards. And that will be the solution to future financial crises. And given the fact that the debt levels are rising remorselessly year after year after year, politicians are kicking the can down the road. They've got no appetite to control spending, and they just think the easy way out is to either take on more debt or print money. Ultimately, you can see where I'm going, that you're going to start seeing more and more liquidity in the world economy to accommodate the rising debt levels. And if that happens, the gold price goes up and up and up.
You mentioned other commodities that now there's going to be a boom in other commodities. Is there a way to value these commodities? What is the fair value for them?
There's a way that one can do it. I mean, I have my metrics and my methodologies. And what I think of is that you've got two moving parts in a commodity price. You've got a real exchange ratio, and that might be, let's say, the ratio between, let's say, for argument's sake, copper and gold. It may be oil to gold. It may be silver to gold, or whatever the ratio is. And then you've got a currency of denomination. And that currency of denomination is really a paper money denomination. So that's the US dollar gold price, say, or that's the sterling pound gold price, or that's the yen gold price. And those two moving parts will dictate what a currency, what a commodity is valued at in any currency. So if you think of it in those terms, let's take gold as the independent benchmark here. That real exchange ratio, the copper to gold ratio, for example, will be influenced by industrial activity. And you will find that the copper to gold ratio will trade at a low level in a recession, and it will trade at a very high level during an economic boom. So if you're looking at an economic boom ahead, then what you've got to try and extrapolate is a rising copper to gold ratio, and equally a rising oil to gold ratio, etc. Now, if you look at those two moving parts, number one, the gold price, which is being driven by a monetary inflation, whether that's a generalized monetary inflation because all central banks are easing, or whether it's a specific one because the Chinese alone are doing, doesn't really matter. But what you're looking at is a rising gold price here in US dollars. And you're also looking at a rising ratio between, let's say, copper and gold, or oil and gold. And if you look at those two moving parts, which are moving positively together, then you're going to see a boom in commodity markets. And that is exactly what we're seeing right now.
And how long do you think this boom will last?
Well, it will last, it should last well into 2026, because I think that if you look at the underlying dynamics of the US economy, and I think sort of punch what many economists have argued that the US economy is weak or close to recession, I defy that. I just don't think it is. The latest, as you will know, the latest GDP now from the Atlanta Fed is suggesting that Q4 last year the economy was growing at 5.4%. I think that momentum is going to spill over into the first half of this year. First of all, because there's the one big, beautiful bill to deliver tax cuts. And on top of that, there's a huge amount of AI spending that will be fulfilled during Q1 and probably Q2. So the US economy is likely to maintain its momentum. Now, a 5% growth clip is a pretty eye-watering rate of growth, and it fulfills many of Trump's expectations or hopes, and certainly what Scott Bessent has been arguing quite articulately, that the US economy is in a pretty decent shape. So I think that backdrop is going to mean that commodity markets are well underpinned. On top of that, you've got the Chinese that are throwing money at their economy, and you've got fiscal spending worldwide, let's be clear, which is also expanding. The Germans announced a big fiscal easing last year, and that will be coming through in 2026. So the European economies will be moving forward at the same time. So what you've got is the prospect of a world economy that looks pretty robust. And I would argue that's to a very large extent what the commodity complex is currently discounting. Strong economic growth isn't necessarily in the short term inflationary. It may turn out to be inflationary later, maybe in 2027. But for the moment, what we've got is strong growth and potentially strong commodity markets. Now, what I would also add to that statement is that we have to remember that strong economies don't always have strong financial markets. And I would suggest we go back and look at what happened in 2008 when you saw a strong economy worldwide. You saw commodity prices moving strongly upwards. You saw the oil market shooting well above $100 a barrel, and financial markets collapsed. And that's something to be wary of, because the fact is that all money that's anywhere must be somewhere. And if it's in the real economy, it's not in financial markets. And equally, if it's in financial markets, it's not in the real economy. Financial markets were the story over the last 3 years. The story over the next 2 years may well be the real economy.
In terms of the debasement, for some of our audience that may not know the debasement argument, can you tell us what it is and why people are getting it wrong, in your opinion?
Well, monetary debasement is essentially devaluing your paper money. It's letting the value of paper money diminish against, let's say, real assets or real asset benchmark. A very good way of actually measuring that, a barometer of that, is a rising gold price. But you can think of it in many ways. It just becomes, harder and harder to afford products. In other words, that real things go up faster than the paper money in your pocket. So in other words, it's an affordability question. And that affordability can come through two ways. One is that governments just trash the value of their money, or our money. And the other way is that actually costs go up. So it might be that there's a relative price change, such as oil prices go up because of some events in the Middle East, for example. It might be that Chinese products come in at very cheap levels, and we can go to Walmart and buy really cheap Chinese products, and that keeps prices down. So there is a cost element. But I think what we're arguing here, monetary debasement, is pointing the finger very clearly at the governments and the central banks and saying, because of their errant monetary policies, the value of the dollar bill is actually diminishing. The purchasing power is just not there. That's monetary debasement. Now, the argument that is current right now is that the reason the gold market's going up is because central banks worldwide are deliberately debasing their currencies at a rapid rate. Now, that may explain a little bit. I'm not going to argue against the fact that there is a bit of this going on, but it certainly doesn't explain the very rapid rise in the gold market over the last 2 to 3 years. It will allow for a gentle uptrend in gold, but not the surge that we've seen. The surge in gold is being explained by the fact that one particular player, i.e. China, is aggressively buying gold and aggressively printing money. And China is big enough to actually influence the gold market significantly, and that's principally what's going on. And therefore, as I said earlier, what you're seeing is the Shanghai Gold Exchange really being the marginal pricer of gold worldwide. So increasingly, COMEX and increasingly the London Gold Exchange are basically price takers. Asia is setting the prices. So that's my argument. And the evidence for that is that if there was a generalized monetary debasement, the bond markets globally would be selling off hugely because they'd be fearing inflation from this printing of money. And they're not. They're simply not. Parche Japan, of course, where Japan may have specific problems, but other bond markets are not selling off like that. Equally, if there was a real threat about monetary debasement, Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies would be going up because they've shown demonstrably in the last 10 years that they are very, very good monetary inflation hedges, actually arguably better than gold itself. They've performed much better in the face of historic monetary inflations.